In the dim glow of a rainy twilight, as thunder rumbled like a distant warning from the heavens, a frail woman stood at the wrought iron gates of a sprawling mansion, her tattered coat clinging to her like a second skin soaked through by the relentless downpour. Her name was Elena, and at 42, life had stripped her of everything but the will to survive one more day. With trembling hands, she pressed the intercom button, her voice barely audible over the storm as she uttered the words that had become her desperate mantra in these unforgiving streets: "Can I clean your house for a plate of food?" But inside the opulent home, the millionaire who answered the call, Alexander Hawthorne, a man whose fortune was built on steel and secrets, froze at the sight of her on the security camera, his coffee cup slipping from his grasp and shattering on the marble floor, for in her weary eyes, he saw a ghost from his past, a face he had mourned for decades. If this story of unexpected connections and the power of kindness already tugs at your heartstrings, and if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the miracles that can arise from the simplest acts of humanity, then please like this video, drop a comment below sharing your own story of kindness, share it with someone who needs a reminder of hope, and subscribe to the channel, Kindness Speaks, for more tales that celebrate the beauty in our shared human experience. Elena's journey to that rain-slicked gate had been a long, tortuous path paved with loss and betrayal, beginning in the sun-drenched fields of a small Midwestern town where she grew up as the only child of a hard-working farmer and his gentle wife. Those early years were filled with the simple joys of rural life, chasing fireflies on summer evenings, helping her father mend fences under the vast blue sky, and listening to her mother's lullabies that promised a world full of possibilities. But tragedy struck when Elena was just 12. A devastating fire engulfed their modest home one fateful night, claiming her parents' lives and leaving her orphaned, her world reduced to ashes in a single, smoke-filled inferno. The authorities, overwhelmed and underfunded, placed her in the foster system, a labyrinth of temporary homes where kindness was a rare commodity, and stability an illusion. She bounced from family to family, each move chipping away at her innocence, until at 16, she ran away, convinced that the streets held more promise than the cold indifference of strangers pretending to care. Life on her own was a brutal education in survival, where every day dawned with the gnawing ache of hunger and the constant shadow of danger lurking in alleyways and under bridges. Elena found odd jobs at first, washing dishes in dingy diners, sweeping floors in forgotten warehouses, but the economy's cruel turns left her unemployed more often than not, her resume a patchwork of gaps that no employer wanted to overlook. She married young, at 19, to a man named Jack who promised her the stability she craved, his charming smile hiding the volatility beneath. For a while, it seemed like redemption. They scraped together a life in a tiny apartment, and Elena gave birth to a daughter, Lily, whose laughter filled the cracks in their fragile existence. But Jack's demons, alcohol and anger, escalated, turning their home into a battlefield where Elena shielded Lily from the worst of it, her own bruises hidden under long sleeves. One night, in a haze of rage, he left them, taking what little savings they had, abandoning Elena to face eviction and the harsh reality of single motherhood without a safety net. The descent into homelessness was swift and merciless, starting with missed rent payments that led to a cold eviction notice taped to their door, forcing Elena and little Lily onto the streets with nothing but a backpack of essentials and the clothes on their backs. They slept in shelters when beds were available, but more often in parks or abandoned buildings, Elena wrapping her arms around her daughter to ward off the chill of the night and the fear that clawed at her heart. Lily, with her wide eyes and unyielding trust, became Elena's anchor, the reason she pushed through the exhaustion, begging for scraps or offering her labor in exchange for meals. But illness struck like a thief in the night. Lily caught a fever that turned into pneumonia, her small body ravaged by the lack of proper care and nutrition. Elena pleaded with hospitals, but without insurance or money, they were turned away until it was too late. Holding her daughter's lifeless hand in a sterile emergency room, Elena shattered, the weight of guilt and grief pressing down on her like an unbreakable chain, convincing her that she was cursed, unworthy of love or redemption. Years blurred into a monotonous cycle of survival after that, Elena wandering from city to city, her once vibrant spirit dulled by the endless rejections and the hollow echo of her losses. She cleaned homes when people took pity, scrubbing floors until her knees bled, all for a hot meal or a few dollars that barely sustained her. The streets hardened her exterior, but inside, a flicker of hope remained, buried under layers of despair, a belief that somewhere, someone might see beyond her ragged appearance to the woman she used to be. Rainy days were the worst, amplifying her isolation as people hurried past with their umbrellas, their eyes averted from the beggar at the corner. It was on one such evening, driven by a hunger that twisted her stomach into knots, that she approached the gates of Hawthorne Manor, the grand estate perched on a hill overlooking the city, its lights a beacon of unattainable warmth. She had heard whispers about the reclusive millionaire who lived there, a man whose wealth was legendary but whose personal life was shrouded in mystery, rumors of a tragic past that kept him locked away from the world. Alexander Hawthorne, the man behind those gates, had built his empire from nothing, rising from the ashes of his own shattered youth to become a titan in the tech industry, his innovations revolutionizing communication and amassing billions. But success came at a cost. His days were filled with board meetings and mergers, his nights haunted by regrets that no amount of money could erase. As a young man, he had a sister, Sophia, whom he adored, 2 years younger, with the same piercing green eyes and infectious laugh that lit up their impoverished childhood home. They were inseparable, orphans themselves after their parents died in a car accident when Alexander was 18 and Sophia 16. He promised to protect her, working double shifts in factories to keep them afloat, but one stormy night, Sophia vanished, running away after a heated argument about his controlling ways, leaving behind a note that read, "I need to find my own path." Alexander searched tirelessly, hiring detectives and scouring cities, but leads dried up, and eventually, he was told she had likely perished in the underbelly of street life. The guilt consumed him, turning him into a recluse, his mansion a gilded cage where he surrounded himself with luxuries that failed to fill the void. When Elena's voice crackled through the intercom, Alexander was in his study, poring over old photographs of Sophia, a ritual he performed on rainy nights to remind himself of what he had lost. The security feed showed a woman who could have been any beggar, but as she lifted her head, rain streaming down her face, he saw it, the familiar curve of her jaw, the green eyes that mirrored his own, aged by hardship but unmistakable. His heart stopped, time suspending as memories flooded back. Sophia's laughter, her rebellious spirit, the way she used to clean their tiny apartment with meticulous care, dreaming of a better life. He froze, the world narrowing to that screen, disbelief warring with a surge of hope that threatened to overwhelm him. Was it possible? After all these years, could this bedraggled stranger be his long-lost sister, returned from the grave he had imagined for her? He buzzed the gate open without a word, his hands shaking as he watched her approach, each step a bridge across the chasm of time and pain. As Elena entered the mansion, the warmth enveloped her like a forgotten embrace, the scent of polished wood and fresh flowers a stark contrast to the dank alleys she knew. Alexander met her at the door, his imposing figure softened by the tears welling in his eyes, though he composed himself quickly, inviting her in with a gesture that betrayed his inner turmoil. He led her to the kitchen, where a housekeeper prepared a simple meal, steaming soup and bread that Elena devoured with quiet gratitude, her body aching from the cold. As she ate, Alexander observed her closely, noting the scars on her hands, the way she carried herself with a quiet dignity despite her circumstances. He asked gentle questions about her life, probing without pressure, and Elena, warmed by the food and the rare kindness, shared fragments of her story, the fire that took her parents, the foster homes, the runaway years, the marriage that crumbled, the daughter she buried too soon. Each word built a puzzle in Alexander's mind, pieces aligning with the timeline of Sophia's disappearance, the details matching the reports from detectives long ago. The revelation came slowly, like dawn breaking over a stormy sea, as Alexander pulled out an old photo album from his study, flipping to pictures of their youth. Elena's eyes widened as she saw the images, a young girl who looked just like her, standing beside a boy who resembled the man before her. Memories she had suppressed surged forth, the argument with her brother, whose name she had changed to Elena to escape the past, running away in youthful folly, assuming he would never forgive her. She had reinvented herself, burying Sophia under layers of new identities to outrun the pain, but life had circled back in the most unexpected way. Alexander's voice broke as he whispered her old name, and in that moment, the walls between them crumbled, tears flowing freely as brother and sister reunited after 26 years apart. He froze again, not in shock this time, but in awe of the second chance fate had granted, his frozen heart thawing under the warmth of forgiveness and love. In the days that followed, Alexander's mansion transformed from a solitary fortress into a haven of healing, as he enveloped Elena in the care she had long been denied. He arranged for medical checkups to address the toll of years on the streets, her body weakened by malnutrition and untreated ailments, and she began to regain her strength, the color returning to her cheeks like flowers blooming after winter. Emotional scars ran deeper, though. Nights were plagued by nightmares of Lily's final days, and Elena struggled with the guilt of her past choices, questioning if she deserved this redemption. Alexander shared his own burdens, the empire he built as a distraction from grief, the loneliness that money couldn't cure, creating a bond forged in mutual vulnerability. He introduced her to therapy, where she unpacked the layers of trauma, learning to forgive herself for the runaway decisions of her youth and the losses that followed. Slowly, Elena found purpose again, helping in the mansion not out of necessity but choice, her cleaning rituals evolving into acts of love that brought order to both their lives. Challenges persisted, testing the fragility of their reunion. Elena grappled with the opulence that felt foreign, her street-honed instincts clashing with the security of wealth, and she feared becoming dependent, insisting on contributing in meaningful ways. Alexander faced his own demons, confronting the overprotectiveness that had driven Sophia away years ago, learning to give her space while offering support. Whispers from his business associates questioned the sudden appearance of a long-lost sister, stirring doubts and media scrutiny that threatened their privacy. But together, they navigated these storms, Elena's resilience inspiring Alexander to launch a foundation in Lily's name, dedicated to helping homeless families and single mothers, channeling his fortune into shelters and programs that provided not just food, but pathways to stability. Elena became its heart, sharing her story in quiet gatherings, her voice steady as she advocated for those still lost in the shadows, turning her pain into a beacon for others. As months turned into a year, the changes deepened, Elena blossoming into a woman of quiet strength, her laughter echoing through the halls like echoes of their childhood. She planted a garden in the mansion's grounds, a tribute to Lily, where flowers bloomed in vibrant defiance of past hardships, and Alexander joined her there, their conversations weaving dreams for the future. The suspense of uncertainty gave way to a steady rhythm of hope, each day a testament to the power of kindness in rewriting destinies. Elena no longer wandered, she had found home not just in the mansion, but in the reclaimed bond with her brother, a connection that proved stronger than time or tragedy. And Alexander, once frozen in grief, discovered that true wealth lay in the warmth of family, his empire now serving a greater purpose beyond profit. The story of Elena and Alexander spread quietly through their foundation's work, touching lives far beyond their gates, inspiring acts of compassion in a world often blinded by haste. It reminded all who heard it that behind every plea for help, be it a simple request to clean for food, lies a tapestry of untold struggles, and that freezing in recognition can be the first step toward thawing a frozen soul. In the end, as rain fell once more on the manor, Elena stood at the window, watching the drops trace paths down the glass, no longer a symbol of her despair but of cleansing renewal, her heart full with the knowledge that second chances are the greatest gifts we can give or receive. If this tale of loss, reunion, and the transformative power of kindness has touched your heart, stirring emotions that remind you of the fragility and beauty of life, then please, from the depths of my storytelling soul, like this video, share it with a friend who might need its message today, and subscribe to Kindness Speaks, to join a community that celebrates these profound human connections. Your engagement means the world and keeps these stories alive. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. Please comment below with the line that moved you most in this story, or share how kindness has changed your life. Your words could inspire someone else just as this tale has inspired you.